Welcome to Agoracom Interviews, a production of Agoracom in which we speak to influential CEOs about important industry topics. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce Terry Lynch, CEO of Power Nickel, and more importantly, the co-founder of Save Canadian Mining, the advocacy group backed by industry giants such as Eric Sprott, Keith Neumeyer, Robert McEwen, and multiple sponsors who have worked tirelessly and given generously to conduct the research, create the reports, meet with key government officials and regulatory bodies for the singular purpose of putting an end to the devastating practice of illegal short selling in the Canadian small cap market. A few months back on Black Friday, the team behind Terry grew even bigger and better with the addition of Wes Christian and David Wenger to host a live webcast that discussed the problem at greater depth and to inform us about case law that opened the door to holding broker-dealers liable for failing to fulfill their gatekeeping responsibilities of monitoring client trading actions. If that Black Friday webcast was the low point of frustration, anger, and even despair in the small cap space, today's Good Friday video is the good news turnaround point, dare I say resurrection, because Terry and his team have not only discovered the shocking mechanism to facilitate the fire hose of naked short selling, but along with it, the specific actions now required to be taken by all of us in the small cap industry to put an end to it, including a mass coordinated publicity campaign culminating in a potential billion-dollar class action lawsuit. Terry, welcome back, my friend.
Great to be here, George. Important conversation we're going to have today.
Before we get into the specifics of your findings and the solutions, let me say, first of all, on behalf of everyone watching, thank you and everyone behind Save Canadian Mining for your relentless and tireless work over the past few years to get us to this point. None of us would be here without you, and we owe you a debt of gratitude. I know you don't ask for it, but I still think it has to be said. Now, you've discovered, this is what we've talked about on LinkedIn, we post to everybody, you've discovered new facts about the Canadian capital markets that you say will blow us away. Specifically, in a message to me, you said, all investors are not equal. I've learned that if you're a hedge fund and rent pipe from the main providers to exchanges in Canada, you can trade short exempt. It's no longer a mystery. They press a button and hit the bid again and again. That's how this paper is coming. Give us a little more detail on that, because a lot of us don't know what it is to be a hedge fund renting pipe and what that does to the market dynamics.
Yeah, I mean it's shocking, really. I think it's clear fundamentally that as humans, we all think that all humans are created equally, and surely all investors should be created equally too. Whether you're a hedge fund or a mutual fund or a pension fund or an individual investor, we should all be trading under the same things. If you're a market maker, I get that distinction, but that's what basically short exempt actually was invented for, was for market makers to create liquidity on the trading. But and this is something that I guess is when they allowed algorithmic trading, I guess that's probably when they allowed this short exempt status to come in. I had no idea until about maybe 4 weeks ago now, when a serious trader said, Terry, I think you're on some good things here, but I think you're chasing down the wrong hole. You're not focusing on short exempt, and this is where the real problem is. And I had no idea really at the time that was the smoking gun. I had made a mention of it when we reported to the Ontario Task Force, but when I looked into it and I had him explain it to me sort of with crayons, simple, so that I could understand it. Basically what happens if you're a hedge fund, whether you're based in Canada or overseas, if you rent pipe from CIBC, TD, or Merrill, what I understand are the major pipe providers in the country, access to the backbones of the trading markets, you basically get automatically short exempt status. Okay, what is short exempt status? Well, it means you don't have to have stock in your account or a borrow located to hit a bid. So if you see bids in trading in any company, not just Power Nickel or any mining companies, but technology companies, biotech companies, etc., and you want to short those companies, if you have short exempt status, you just hit the button and you fill that order. Okay, and we noted that in our submission to the Ontario Task Force, not really knowing what it was, but we noted that it went from 0 to 10%. And we said that was alarming. And now we know, now that we sort of see this, we say, Well, this is how they're doing it because we thought how, and most people I know when I talk to other fund managers, talk to other executives, talk to investors, they all seem to think that, hey, Terry, I don't see how they can do it because I know I can't do it. Individuals sort of say, I can't trade like that. So how is it possible? Because they think that we all have the same rights. Well, that's the big thing, George. We don't all have the same rights. Apparently, some people are more equal than others. It's like Animal Farm. It's unbelievable. It has to be stopped.
Prey, obviously, if you've got short exempt status, who do you prey on? You don't prey on Apple and Google and Microsoft. You prey on the small cap world where, obviously there isn't the same support institutionally or retail because in essence, we're all startup venture style companies trying to prove ourselves. But before we can even get a chance on merit to prove ourselves, we're now discovering that you've got these funds that have tax short exempt status and like a poker table. No matter what you put, we're playing for table stakes. No matter what you bet, I have this unlimited pile of cash. I can just keep coming over the top on you, Terry. It essentially makes it almost impossible to win, and more importantly, unfair. It's that bad? Is it really that
It,
bad?
it really is that bad, George. And it's so egregious that other people have rights, advantages that we don't have as individuals, that our pension funds don't have, that our mutual funds don't have, unless they actually actively rent the pipe. And I think the people that rent pipes are basically algo traders because they hit such a volume of trading that they do this. And so, when we followed up with Cyril on this point and asked them, how is this possible? It seems sort of outrageous. And Cyril responded, well, it's only, these trades, these short exempt status is supposed to be nominal and directionless. Okay.
What does that
So
mean? Nominal and direct. Nominal means small
very,
amounts.
very, very good question. And we asked that back, and we
Okay.
basically said, okay, nominal. Well, to an ant, a pebble is big. To me, it's small. Is it so 100,000 shares a day? Is it some percentage of moving average? Like, how is that? Hey, you know what? There's no definition for nominal. Crazy. Okay, directionless. You know what? I know from talking with other people that are $12 million deep into suing the banks and have disclosures that I'm not going to reveal today, but have talked to head traders from banks that of the biggest banks in Canada, and they're in the big banks. There's one person in charge of the DMA status, one person, and the head traders had no clue what this guy was doing. Okay, so I don't believe there's any sort of purview on the direction. I think that's just a distraction. It's like a magician's trick. Look over here while I'm, changing with the bunny over here. I don't think it exists. So nominal is not defined, and direction isn't pursued. So in my mind, this short exempt thing is a heaping pile of dog poo. I mean, it's unbelievable that this has been allowed to happen.
And it gets worse because there isn't really a compliance process for this. Basically, George Calm hedge fund has rented the pipe, and I'm just going to town, and nobody's actually watching what I do. There's nobody's defined what I can do, and therefore no compliance as to what I'm doing.
That's the whole thing. They're not even looking for it. So from what I can see, they haven't defined the problem. So if you haven't defined the problem, how could you look for it? So it's all very dark, George. That could happen. That this could be so egregious. But as you know, it gets worse, right?
It gets worse because then further on in your letter to me, you say, George, it gets worse yet again, uh, because the concept of failed trades. The CIRO claims that because there are not a high percentage of failed trades, there's no issue with short selling, naked or otherwise. Explain the concept of failed trades, first of all, and why that's important,
Okay,
and
so
what that means
so
in terms of the CIRO's claim.
yeah, so right now in Canada, when you trade a stock, you have 2 days to close your trade, deliver your cash or deliver your stock, whatever the case may be. There's a bonus 10 days for, you lost your stock, you left it at home or whatever. I don't know, some sort of useless excuse that they have allowed to happen over the years. T plus 2 plus 10 is sort of the system. That's changing in May sometime to T plus 1. So in other words, you have to settle in one day. But all that doesn't matter if there isn't some mechanism, A, that identifies in a clear and transparent way to the entire system, individual investors, mutual fund investors, pension fund investors, so they can see the transparency of the failed trade. So when pressed to see on failed trades how they're actually observed, and I got this from the president of or the CEO of CSE when I spoke at their luncheon at PDAC. He told me that he was surprised to learn that Ciro actually doesn't pull up or identify failed trades. Failed trades only happen. Get this, George. Only happen when the bank or bank broker that allowed the trade to fail actually posts it as a failed trade. So it's the concept would be you commit murder, you don't call it murder, it's not murder. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, how can this be? How can it be? We couldn't allow that in society, right? In respect to that example of murder. So how can we allow this murder to happen in our financial markets? How can the perpetrator possibly of the crime be allowed to actually decide when it's a crime? How is that justice? That's just ridiculous. So I mean, it's got to be stopped. Because they use this failed trades. People accuse me of being a conspiracy theorist. Which is why we went out with Power Nickel and got empirical evidence and filed a complaint with Cyril and Finner, which we have heard nothing on because they don't actually, do anything on these things. We got that evidence as part of that, but it's because of this failed trade thing. They say there's no failed trade, so there's thus no short problem. Well, as it turns out, the very guys that are perpetrating the failed trades are the guys who are policing the system. It's
Yeah, that's
insanity
unbelievable.
squared, man. And it's like, but I mean, the good news, George, in my mind, is that's so goddamn wrong. Pardon my, sorry, God,
Or God.
especially on this day. But honestly, I'm so mad. This is so outrageous. It's just got to be stopped, and it's so egregious. I believe this, in my mind, is such a black and white issue. This is just wrong. It needs to be stopped. It needs to be stopped now. There's a lot of other things that need to be addressed in the Canadian financial markets. And we need to sort of do like a royal commission on this and set that out clearly. But we're not going to wait for that now. We need the bots stopped tomorrow. And what we need to do is we got to have a plan to pressure our MPPs, our MLAs across our great country to say to our politicians, guys, we're tired of these guys stealing from us. Okay, we're the voters. You're either going to get behind us in this issue, or we're going to find new people that will get behind us in this issue. It's a
Well,
black or white thing.
on that note, where is Premier Doug Ford on this? Where is Minister of Finance Peter Bethlenfalvy? I'm not sure even how I pronounce his name, but
Bethel
let's
yeah.
call him Pete Beth. Where are these guys? There have they been made aware? And how much rope are you going to give them before you really start turning up the pressure? Like you're going to give them one last chance here to say
Yeah.
we've
So
discovered the mechanism.
in fairness to Minister Bethel Favi and Premier Ford, we haven't spoken to him about this particular issue, not on a personal level. So and I think it obviously it bears that sort of level of discussion, and we need to go through it with them so they are very clear about the situation. But once we go through this with them, uh, man, it's a black or white issue, and you're either with us or against us. Now, I know the political realities of the pressures of being in office. You can imagine the biggest contributors to every political campaign on all sides are the banks. They're the biggest organizations in the country, so they're the biggest force for donating to these guys. So they have massive power, well beyond anything that we can imagine. Okay, so in order to provide defense to our politicians, as sad as it is to say, we have to make a grassroots push here so that we can push the MPPs and the MLAs on a grassroots level, demand that they change the system immediately, and then because the grassroots is so powerful and so supportive, then the politicians at the top can say, "Hey, listen, I can't stop this. I have to go with it." Because honestly, you can be betting the banks have suppressed this at the very top levels. Okay, whether overtly or subvertly, I don't know, but for sure they've made billions on this. Okay, and I don't know what we're going to do about the past, but it needs to stop for going forward because Canada, look at the economy that we're in, and we need to build this thing back up again, and we got to start with a healthy capital markets, and that's what we're talking about.
And more than just an idea of what you want to do, you've alluded to a little bit. I want to that's grassroots up to the final point. I actually want to go reverse pyramid on this because all these action steps, and we're going to get back to what you're just talking about in a second about pressure and how everyone can help out of that. But the idea behind all of this is to potentially culminate in a $1 billion class action lawsuit. And you've specifically said that you need a minimum of 9 companies for a class action. And then I'm going to go down to the grassroots level. I want to start at the top. And Mike, who would can you discuss who would be the target, or right now you wouldn't want for tactical reasons, strategic reasons to mention who the target of
Yeah,
class action lawsuit might
yeah,
be?
I wouldn't want to, mention for technical reasons, but obviously, the bank and bank brokers would be, certainly amongst them, but not necessarily just them. So the important thing is we have to have a multifaceted approach here. We tried for 3 years to lobby nicely. Please, sir, could we have some more soup, sir? Could we have some nice regulations? Can you look after us? It seems only fair. This seems unjust. Okay, that got absolutely nowhere. Okay, so let's just be really frank about that. We got nowhere with all of our lobbying. Zero. Zero's been done. Okay, despite all the meetings, despite all the effort, despite all the evidence, nothing happened. Okay, so if people think that this is somehow going to come out, that politicians are going to look after us in their benign ways, in their benevolent ways, pardon me, wake up. Okay, you got to wake up because that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is we're going to wake up and we're going to start to reach out and demand change. And the change is simple. Okay, the first thing we got to do is ban the bots. Okay, these short exempt status has to be banned at some price point. I don't know. Pick a number. Minimum will be 250 million. Probably should be 500 million. Could easily be a billion. Those markets need protection because those companies need, as you say, to grow to a certain size to have a chance for success or failure in the pure capitalist sense. And then above that number, yeah, they can trade, and because once you're above $1 billion or whatever, you've got a lot of core businesses that there's going to be a natural valuation there and protection and a bunch of investors. But until that point, you often have to go from milestone to milestone and be evaluated on your achievement of these milestones. That's traditionally how the capital markets work. So
And
that's where we
that's the
got to
good
get to.
news here, right, Terry? Because you've identified the mechanism. Before it seemed like it was a little more convoluted. You're trying to figure it out, and you got multiple trading platforms. And how do you? But now that you know exactly what it is, it's very binary. It
Yeah,
can be from your discussions with your legal team, with your experts around you. It would not be difficult to just get rid of tax exempt short exempt status. Sorry, at a $500 million or lower, you just couldn't do it. That would be an easy flip of the switch. Correct.
that
That's
would
the
be
good
a
news
that would
here.
be a flip of the switch, and it would take some courage for the government to do that, but it's going to take them a lot more courage to not do that. Okay, because we're like Peter Finch in that movie Network. We're opening up the windows saying we're sick of this stuff. We need to have change, because it's so egregious, George. It's got to stop now. And what I fear, and I know will happen, they'll say, "Hey, we want to do a review of this. We want to commission." Say that's bullshit. This is just wrong on so many levels. We don't need to look one step further. It's wrong. It's like catching people in the act of murder, and you stop it because that's the good thing to do. We need to stop these bots, and we need to stop them tomorrow. And once we stop these bots, okay, the market will find a way to heal itself because price discovery will come back. Investors will come back. The
Yeah,
reasons
no
why
doubt.
we have no investors in mining stocks or in most small caps in any sector in Canada is because they have not made any money. Investors aren't stupid. They go to other areas. They go to crypto. They go into real estate. They pursue other things because they're not idiots. This has been a mug's game. Okay. and only like the diehard people have stayed in it. But that's not any way to make a capital markets healthy and prosper. We can't have a positive investment climate in the country if we don't have that. And it's so crazy because the macro conditions in mining have never been better, really. I mean, you think about the overall commodity index is very healthy. And then, of course, the whole greening thing, the whole movement to the green economy, Canada is positioned in the best possible way to be a dominant player. And you know what, George? They can't move these mines to China or India. Okay. We're going to have great jobs here in Canada, high paying jobs. That 10% of our workforce is our First Nations, and we're trying to help those people, and they are being very productive. Let's get them engaged. But honestly, we can't do it without a healthy capital markets, and we won't do it unless we fix this problem by stopping the bots tomorrow.
And you've got this two-pronged approach. I'm assuming you're going to be moving really swiftly now. You've got the class action lawsuit side, and you've got the political pressure side. Um, how much time are you going to give? I mean, the class action lawsuit, I think once that's launched, it's going to make all compliance departments at every bank and every broker dealer stand up and take notice, and that's going to that you're impacting the bottom line, right? That's how you hope
Yeah,
to get change there. How much rope are you going to give our legislators at the end of the day? Because you have spoken to Doug Ford's administration about this problem in general for the last 2-3 years. You haven't had much movement there. How much rope are you going to give them? I know you want to give them a chance, but how much rope are you going to give them before you go full on real strong? And we're going to talk about that in a second. The real big strong political push with campaigns from public companies, marketing, advertising, all of that, even going to the opposition to give them the fuel. How long are you going to give them? Because I think that's what everyone's
yeah. So
really
it's weeks, not months, George. You know what I mean?
wow.
So and we obviously have to get the audience and go through it with the Ford Nation. And in my mind, there's never been a more Ford Nation issue than this. I was a member of Ford Nation, back in the day, with Rob and then with Doug, and this is the core, right? This is like individual investors, small business. I mean, this is the very essence of what it's about, And I mean, this is like mind blowing to me. So I believe if we present this to them, that they will see the right in this issue. And if we present this to the membership, the MPPs across Ontario, they will see the right to this issue. And of course, we're focusing in Ontario now because we're a guerrilla force. Small Canadian, say Canadian mining should be called small Canadian mining because there's only like just a few of us. But the reality is we don't have any staff. Okay, it's just a collection of individuals who are frustrated with the total breakdown in our regulatory environment that's destroyed many companies, many individuals, a lot of communities, and we know it's got to stop. But we need now to focus on there is a solution, a actionable solution that would be fair and can be acted upon right away that can go a long ways to rejuvenating the not only the Ontario economy but the Canadian economy. And it's common sense. And you know what? It's funny, George. The banks who have and again, I don't know if this has been an orchestrated attack of these guys or just this sort of osmosis that they found a way to make money and they kept stuck with it. I'm not
Yeah,
about
that sounds
blame.
more like it. Just an exploit loop that they all just jumped on.
I'm not about blaming it. That part is less important to me than solving the problem. I just want to solve the problem. And I want to say to the banks and the brokers that are eventually going to watch this, because they will watch this, I want to say that, guys, you've made a pot full of money on the short side. That's coming to an end very quickly, one way or another. It's going to end. Okay, this is so egregious now. I have no doubt that actions will be taken. This will be stopped. Okay, you need to get to the other side of this. So getting these bots taken out will mean there will be massive mining boom, massive small cap boom in Canada because these stocks have been so destroyed. We're trading at fractions on the dollar for many of these on traditional valuations. So it's like they and their investors, their individual investors. Remember, banks control 90% of the investment capital in this country. The mutual funds, the pension funds. If they get into mining stocks now, they're going to make a lot of money. because there's you don't have to invest in the pure greenfields exploration. I'm talking about investing in companies that have found substantial discoveries. That are just you're getting gold for $5 a pound in the ground, an ounce in the ground. You're buying nickel for 10 cents a pound. I mean, it's ridiculous. It goes on and on and on. So there's tremendous value to be had in the mining sector. I think there's tremendous value to be had across the small cap sector. But if you change the rules, those markets will find proper price equilibrium.
Absolutely.
That will be up substantially. I'm talking multiples from where we're at. You only have to look at the TSXV index. It's at 500 and change. It was over 3,000 back in the day. That's a six bagger, the entire index. So, I mean, it's crazy. But we got to stop it, and it's not going to happen if we just sit here, in our pajamas watching videos.
Last question on the class action side, and then I'm going to move into how we mobilize the well over 1,000 companies that are represented by both the Black Friday webcast and today's video, because we've seen the response on LinkedIn, how many people are sharing, posting, and all that. Last question. You've talked about the class action. To start, you only need Power Nickel plus 9 other companies. Let's say 10 companies. Why do you need only 10 companies at the beginning, which is great? And will more companies be able to join in later if they so choose?
So yeah, so let me clarify that. So the 10 company thing that I want is that is to have 10 companies get work with Share Intel to get empirical proof that in fact there is a negative trade imbalance on their stock, just like we did with Power Nickel, and then you file the complaint with Ciro and FINRA. So that's empirical. Okay, that's not fantasy. That's not conspiracy theory. It's a fact. That fact has been used in a court of law more than 10 times now, and has won settlements between 10 and $100 million.
Wow.
Okay, just that. So I want that because I think because when you're little guys, the easiest thing to say is Terry's a nut job and Save Canadian Mining is full of crap. Okay, that's basically what they've been saying. But now, as it turns out, hey, no, what I want to do is Power Nickel got the evidence. Let's get another 9 companies. I actually had 2 come in last night. I've got 2. I may need 7 more. Okay, we haven't even really reached out, but we get these guys. Everyone gets this data. They make their press release. They file their complaint with Ciro, and then it's like, hey, we got 10. We could get 100, but that's just like this is going to cost. It's going to cost a number that the companies will pay, like Power Nickel paid. So there's no need for us to waste more of that money, in my view. It's like that's a company's decision. They could choose to do that, but it's some number 10. Pick a number. It's like it's just pervasive. Every serious player in the industry in junior mining is being naked shorted. I 100% believe that. Now, we'll prove it by go ahead and doing that. The class action suit is a bit of a different animal. Okay, we've been doing some serious work on that for the last number of months. Another big meeting yesterday on it, and I can't get into the details of how that'll be prosecuted or who the plaintiffs will be and stuff like that. But there'll be opportunity for people to get involved. I suspect the 10 companies that do this will have over $1 billion worth of damages that they could even talk about. But we're talking about hundreds of companies. We did the math at Save Canadian Mining. We did the research, and our research showed over $40 billion worth of destruction and capital value. 40 billion, George, just in mining
And
alone.
that's just on, you've been looking specifically at mining companies, obviously, because that's your backyard, but that doesn't take into account all the small cap tech companies out there, the bricks and mortar companies, all of them who have been
you're
impacted
probably I don't know, in Canada probably closing half a trillion dollars, something mind-boggling that we probably can't even write down on paper. It's pervasive, and you can think about how much. Imagine if Canada's economy, if we had this $500 billion in wealth in our companies, that translates into wealth for our individuals, for our pension funds, for our mutual funds. How much better we'd be. How much more taxes we'd pay to our society that could have more hospitals, more schools, better roads. I mean, this is how the world works. The governments need taxes, and they get taxes from income taxes earned by investors, by companies that are making profits because they've had the capital to develop, and so forth and so on. So this is a country destroyer. This is what we're doing. We're destroying our country, and this is why we got to stop it. And now that we've got this smoking gun of the knowing that this short exempt status is allowed for some, but not all, for no good reason. There's no good reason for these guys to be shorting stocks under 500 million. You pick a number. There's no good reason, period. We don't need liquidity. Thank you. Okay. And it's just ridiculous that the failed trades are only provided by the guys who actually let them bloody happen. How insane is that? Okay. Wake up.
Here, it's Terry. Let me walk around your house. Let me pick and choose what I like, and I'll decide if I should tell you if I've taken anything, if I feel like taking you.
Exactly.
So any companies watching right now, I'm going to ask them to connect with you through LinkedIn because that's been our main point of contact. Even though these videos are on YouTube and other socials, we're going to talk about that. Reach out to you via LinkedIn, Terry, in
Sure.
order to
Yeah.
say, hey, George
Perfect.
Com here. We want to be a part of this. What do we got
Yeah.
to do with share intel? And then you can go through that with them.
Yeah.
Correct? Now, there are 1,000 other companies, like I said, well over 1,000 companies. You've got a plan to put them into action. And we've been working on this. And that means we've actually put the collateral together for them already, and we're going to make it available to them next week because obviously everyone's watching this on Good Friday. Everyone's going to be enjoying most people are going to be enjoying the holiday with their families. And for those of us like Greek Orthodox who don't have Easter till May, we'll just be enjoying the long weekend. But after that, it's serious business for everybody watching this, which is specifically we've drafted a letter to shareholders that we want every public company send out, a press release for them to send out, social media posts. We've actually created social media posts. We've got the wording and everything for all the different socials: X, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, Instagram. We've got all of that. Terry, how important, I want you to stress now, there are going to be some companies part of the class action. There's you guys who are leading the charge. So we've got kind of this reverse pyramid. Now here, this mass grassroots campaign, impress upon everybody watching, and not just, by the way, just public companies, but also the IR guys, the investment guys, everybody who's a constituent, who's a player in this space. Impress upon everybody how important it's going to be to download these documents when we make them available next week, and get on them according to the plan, because what we want to do is coordinate it all to happen in the same week, right?
Yeah.
Probably the
Yeah.
week following. How important is that, Terry, to what you need to do for all of us?
It's make or break, George. We have to, as individual investors, as companies, we have to act. Nothing is going to come if we don't act. Okay.
Yeah.
If we're all just hot air, it doesn't matter, because the powers that be will look upon how we act. If we act, with fury about this outrageous behavior that's been allowed to happen, if we act with fury by posting the press releases, by informing our shareholders, by calling them to get on X and the various social media files, and to demand the investment banks and brokers and politicians change their ways immediately, they will change, because we are the power. We are the Canadian people. If we take action on this, we will make the changes. And that will be super positive for our country and for each of us individually. So it's just critical that you wake up, get informed, and get active. Everyone's voice can count. Okay, I started this from the floor of the PDAC 4 years ago. Okay, and here we are. It's 4 years. Haven't made a lot of progress. But now we finally understand the mechanisms. Okay, and now we can actually make a change, and we need to, because these things are so bad, but they can be so good. And that's the thing to focus on, folks, is that, what, this can be a life changer for you in your investments. Because if we make these changes, be all in on the spectrum of investment. Find your mining funds, or find your Howard Nichols of the world. Find your stocks that you like and you believe in, the management team and their deposits, and they will go up 10 times and 50 times. Because that's the value that potentially is in this sector. It's insane. So that will, materially benefit, all Canadians, okay, and all Canadian communities. So it's like, help us help you.
Yeah, you're Jerry Maguire right now. You're help us help you. And on that note, look, guys, all of us who are watching right now, who are participating in this, we all know nothing happens without a little bit of money. That's just the way it goes, right? We've all suffered from this, whether you're an investor, whether you're a public company, whether you're IR and marketing and all those things. We've all suffered in all this. So, what Terry has talked about with me, and what I'm going to ask everybody here is, we need, you see it right above, right above Terry's left shoulder. Actually, Terry's left shoulder on the website, it says donate. We all need to contribute to the cause, because Terry, as the tip of the spear, and the team behind him, who've been doing huge amounts of work, have been doing this on their own dime, on their own time. We all need now to be a part of the solution, because not only does it help Terry and the team really hit hard with everything we're talking about, it also helps all of us. So it's not a donation, it's an investment. So if you can do anywhere between 5,000 and 20,000, depending on the size of your treasury, right? We're encouraging you to do so, and don't look at it as a donation. It's an IR expense at the end of the day. It's a market cap. It's going to help your market cap at the end of the day. And I'm imploring all of you to do this very soon. Take a look at your board. Take a look at your officers of your company and say, how much can we afford to send Terry? Because we just have a couple of hundred companies send on average $5,000. Some may only be 3,000. Some may do 10,000. There's $1 million that goes into the kitty so that Terry and the group can move even faster with what they're doing. Because as we go into class action, we're going to need more resources, right? We're going to need some smart people to gather data, to gather evidence, and do all the things necessary. Terry, hopefully I didn't oversell that, but I think it's just that Agora is going to be contributing a healthy
Yeah,
amount. I
I
implore all my
mean,
colleagues to do it. Go ahead, Terry.
yeah,
What do you have to say on that?
yeah. I mean, basically, that's we're obviously talking about the companies and that side of things, and one of the things that we're going to do to companies that participate is I'm going to host, like, at least once every 2 weeks, sort of a Save Canadian Mining roundtable, with participant companies. And remember, we've got, I don't know, it's like 6,000 members now of Save Canadian Mining. I think if you're a member of Save Canadian Mining, you're probably a pretty serious mining investor, is my guess. Well, otherwise, why would you care? But if and so we're going to, talk about their situation in terms of the naked shorts, but we're also going to give them an audience to talk to the people about their story, about their company, and what they're doing. So, in my view, that's a help, as you say, it's an IR investment. You need to tell your investors why your stock has not risen, or why it hasn't risen as much as it should have, or why it's fallen. This is the biggest reason. Because I know I have investors that, even in my own company, Power Nickel, and it's been, we've been better off than most, but still it's been trading sideways despite like ridiculously great results. And people say, well, why? What's wrong with your company? Because I've gotten investors from outside the mining space into it, and don't understand why, with good news, the stocks don't go up. Because in other sectors, if you have good news, the stock rises. But so this is the reason why. One of the key reasons, because price suppression makes other people not invest, because they don't see any follow up momentum, and and so that's why it's so insidious, this approach, and why we have to change it, George.
And the last element in this, in this pyramid here, are the retail investors themselves. I'm not sure how many of them are going to be watching. Hopefully, a lot. As companies, guys, everyone watching this, share it. Whether you're watching on YouTube, on LinkedIn, wherever you're watching, please share it for your shareholders. Plus, we're going to give you all the collateral. But one thing I want to tell all the CEOs and all the IROs at all the companies that are watching and be participating, we're going to have actions for the individual investors to take as well. Hashtags, right? Messaging that they're going to put out. So it's really going to empower everybody in the chain to do something about this. And we want to start that over the next couple of weeks. So, guys, everybody will be part of this. And the whole idea is to support Terry and the team, putting the pressure on the class action side and putting the pressure on the political side. Because Terry, you do have the ability to get these meetings, right? It's not as if George is hoping I can possibly meet with some politician in the US and good luck trying to get it. You guys have the access just by the very nature of who you are, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we've met with them before. We believe that they'll be open to meeting with us again. Because now the message is even more compelling and more imperative for them to listen to. So and it's a simple message. I think naked short selling is such a bad euphemism. It really is. We've come up with this simple slogan: "Ban the bots." Okay, that's all people need to remember. We need to ban the bots. Okay, if we ban the bots, we're going to heal the system. Okay, and we're going to go a long ways to healing our country. And that's a message that's simple, that people can get behind and understand, and politicians can react to positively. You're either for the banning the bots or you're against it. It's not it's a one or a zero, George. And that's what we need to do. We need to pin these guys and get, are you with us or are you against us? We want you to be with us. We want to make you the hero. I want Doug Ford to be the hero and make the change here. It's not about Terry Lynch or Safe Community Mining. It's about having a really, a visionary leader that actually sees this is a big issue and it's a big problem, and they can make a major difference to Ontario and to the country by providing leadership on this. And we implore them to do so. They'll be beloved if they do this, because they'll create tons of jobs, a lot of taxes, and prosperity. And God, Lord knows we need that. So this is a winning issue for these guys. But they got to wake up. We're not waiting.
Yeah. To Doug Ford, his Minister of Finance, the likes of Stephen Lecce, who's probably one of the most powerful cabinet ministers in the provincial party of in the Conservative provincial party. This is an opportunity right here, and I think we're speaking to him directly. This is an opportunity right here to make history, to right a wrong, to help bring prosperity, to help support your own political aspirations of tax revenue necessary to build the hospitals, build the schools, and leave the legacy that you want. It should be, Terry, right? A very easy decision to make. We got
Yeah, it
George
should
Com
be.
hedge fund out of Cayman sucking the money out of Ontario and Canada and just put an end to that, and everybody wins.
That's it. That's it, George. And even the banks, who will probably be the guys that resist this, okay,
Oh yeah.
if they actually think about it, need to get behind this issue. They need to become the good guys in this issue, because they've been whether through design or osmosis, they've enabled this to happen. Okay, so they need to get on the right side of this issue, and they need to get on the right side of this issue now. And the first bank that does this, they'll also get recognition for being forward thinking and positive community building force. So, if I was a bank CEO watching this, I would be saying to my guys, why can't we do this? Why are we better get behind this, because we need to get in front of this trade. It's going to run us over. It will.
Terry, we had the Black Friday webcast, and that was kind of black. And you'd said the other day, there's this symmetry here that we're doing the Good Friday video now, and the table is set for a real resurrection, and everything is lined up. We now know how it's happening. We know how to stop it, and we have the motivations for everybody, from politicians right down to the issuers themselves, on how to put an end to this. So thanks for joining us today. Wishing you, if you're celebrating, a happy Good Friday, a happy Easter long weekend, and the same to everybody at home. Wishing you all a happy Good Friday and a happy Easter weekend if you're celebrating. If not, like me, then enjoy the time, enjoy the week. But most importantly, act. So get ready. We're going to be posting stuff next week. Get everybody, talk to your board members, talk to your officers, share this video, have meetings about this. Get everybody energized and join Terry and save Canadian mining. Last word to you, Terry, before we sign off.
George, I think you did a nice summary there, and I think it's just individually we can make a difference. Together we're stronger than the system, and this could be such a great opportunity for our country, for us individually, and honestly, this is so egregious that this is not something that they can say, let's do a committee on it, let's defer it, because justice delayed is justice denied. Let's not get caught in that trap. We want justice now. we've had enough delays. Okay, we need to ban the bots tomorrow. The sooner you guys get on this and wake up, the better for our society, the better for your political future, and the better for our country. So please get active, support the cause here. Let's get this going. Do whatever you can, as much or as little as you can. It doesn't matter. Just get tweeting, Xing this stuff out. If you're an individual investor, that's going to be fantastically helpful. So, honestly, this is a action we can win because it's so egregious. It's so black and white. We can win this, but we need your support. Please do this. And as George said, have a wonderful holiday weekend and enjoy a good some time with your family. And we'll look forward to talking to you soon. Cheers for now.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks, everybody, for watching. You know what you got to do. Enjoy the weekend. See you next week when we start posting the collateral material. Let's get moving. Have a great day. Have a great weekend.